Hey guys, welcome to another video in the series of Maxscripting. And in this video, we are going to take a look at nested loops and going to create a couple of objects in this grid manner. Now, let's take a look at how this is created in the listener window. So again, we brush up the old concept of variables in which we assign a value to a variable. And in this specifically, what we're doing is we have written two loops. So whenever y value goes from 1 to 5, we say we have another loop that goes from 1 to 5 in the x. If you consider this as axis, so for each value of y in the y-axis, right, we have each value of x in the x-axis. Here what we do is we increment the counter, we create a teapot and assign it to the variable tp, and as we did before, we change the name, we change the scale, we change the position x, but now we also change the position y, because last time in the previous video we were creating objects in the x-axis only, but this time we are going to create objects in the y-axis as well. So when the value of y is 1, it will evaluate, which will create 5 teapots in x-axis from x being what do we say, 1 right here. Okay, and what is the value when x is 1? The value for x, the position x for this object is basically x into 10, which is 1 into 10, which is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now once it has evaluated this 5 times, it will again increment the value, which is y will be 2, which is right here. Okay, and when y is 2, it will again evaluate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? And if you see, the only thing that continuously changes is basically the number. So if it is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, and similarly this is 10, this is 15, 20, and 25. Alright, so what happens is, for every increment that we do in the y-axis, we are creating 5 teapots along the x-axis, and the position of x is multiplied by 10, the position of y is multiplied by 10. So that's why it is not y is 1, 2, 3, 4, but it is basically y is y into 10, which is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so let's create a quick function out of this, and to create a function, we'll say function create teapot grid, and then the function body, and I'm going to just copy this, cut this, paste it here. Just a bit of good indentation is fine at times, and I'm just going to say tools evaluate all, and then we have a function called create teapot grid, and I'm going to delete this, I'm going to paste this here, I'm going to run the function by using the parenthesis and hit the small enter key on the numpad, and it creates this. Now let's make this function dynamic, just like we did for the teapots in the previous video. So we say number of teapots in x and number of teapots in y as 2 arguments. So we'll use this right here, sorry, and we'll use this right here. Now let's see, once we evaluate this, the tools evaluate all, let's see what it creates. So now this time, if I were to just run this function, it says error. It wanted 2 arguments already, but we just got 0 arguments, so we need to provide 2 arguments. So we want 10 in x and 10 in y, and when we evaluate this, this is what we get. It's not necessary that we always create like this, like an even number, but you can say 5 and 10, and it will basically have 5 in x and 10 in y. Similarly, we can have 15 in x and 10 in y. So if we evaluate this, we get 15 in x and 10 in y. So it completely depends. And now what we're going to do is we're also going to make it a little more dynamic by adding the scale value. So we can say teapot scale. I'm going to replace this completely by teapot scale in X, Y, and Z. So this is called uniform scaling. That is it. So we'll say tools evaluate all, and we are going to provide three arguments now. So number of teapots in X, number of teapots in Y, and the scale, I'm going to say 0.05, maybe 0.15. And now if you see, we have a very small teapot. So now what I would like you to try out is basically create a grid which is in all three dimensions, because in the previous video we used a function to create teapots in just one axis, right? In this video we created teapots in two axes, which is the Y and X. And if you could write another nested loop to create teapots in three axes, it'll be great. So we will take a look at how we can do that in the next video. But in the meanwhile, if you could do it, do drop in a comment. So this is it for the video, and thank you so much for watching.